Hey there, collective. Welcome to episode 7 of the Collective podcast. My name is Haley. If you are new, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the family. If you are family, what's up? I hope you guys have had an amazing past few weeks since the last time I posted, which was the full moon in Leo, which is so crazy because we're going to be having the full moon in Virgo this weekend. I think it's a really powerful weekend, and this is all tied into the message that I'm about to give you guys in this specific episode. Now, this particular message that we're going to focus on today, I actually received it quite a few weeks ago, if not like a month ago, but then I kept getting guidance from the Most High saying, it's not the right time, and I'm glad that, I waited and obeyed, because I feel like, especially with the timing, as I said earlier, with this weekend, it's a full moon, and full moons are all about, the closure of cycles in order to allow for a new beginning. Not only is it important because of the full moon, and the energies surrounding it, but I feel like it is really timely with regards to what the world at large is going through right now, from the pandemic to, natural disasters. There are floods. There is hailstone, I'm hearing, in Texas. I have some friends living there, and they're telling me it's crazy. It's kind of like the plagues. And I was just like, this is so funny because, my relationship with God has just become so very interesting. And I've seen this because the message that I'm about to relate today is actually about the story of Moses and the plagues. So I'm not going to go into like the plagues today because there's quite a lot of content that we need to cover. And I really would love for each and every one of you to just, receive it in bite-sized pieces so that you can, process it. So I'm going to do it in like a 4-part series. So this is part 1 of 4 of the Exodus story, and I really love the way I've started embracing my quirks, because I used to find it so weird that when I'd speak, I'd hear like songs in my head and stuff. And now I'm learning that that's how my spirit guides communicate with me. That's part of my ministry. That's part of what I'm supposed to be doing as, directed to me by the Most High. So I'm super grateful. Shout out to Bob Marley. Dude, Exodus, movement of the people. It is so relevant in these times, and also for my podcast as well. This specific episode is also about emancipating ourselves from mental slavery, and that no one else can free our minds except ourselves. Wow, man. Bob Marley, visionary beyond. I mean, I already knew you were amazing, but as I grow on my spiritual path, songs, books, anything that I've come across has a way deeper meaning to me. And it just shows me, the evidence of God in my life, everywhere in my life. And it is my hope that, as you listen to this as well, you may be able to become more mindful and to see the God not only in yourself, but in everything around you, Alrighty, so let's get straight into it. So it starts, specifically, I was told to read Exodus from chapter 7 to 13, but then I was specifically led to Exodus chapter 3, verse 11 to 12. So I'm going to read that for you guys just now as I flip through. I had it opened and then I closed it on myself. Funny. I'm reading from the Amplified Reading Bible. It really doesn't matter what version of Bible you're reading from. Again, all my messages are not religious centered per se, even though I might be coming from a Christian perspective. My objective is to just spread the awareness of the divinity within you, no matter where you're from in this world. Okay, so just keep that in mind for any of those people who feel, drawn away because I'm reading from the Bible. And even if you're drawn away, that's okay. It means that, this message isn't for you at this time, and it will be relevant to you at another time. Anyway, I digress. Exodus chapter 3, verse 11 to 12. It says, "But Moses said to God, 'Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?' And God said, 'Certainly I will be with you, and this shall be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve and worship God at this mountain.'" So that's concerning the mission of Moses. And the thing that popped out to me from this was actually something that I heard a while back from one of my favorite YouTubers. She's called Mila. She said something really significant. She said, "God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called." Oh, I feel like I need to re-say that again for those of you at the back who didn't hear. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Amen, amen, amen. Man, that really resonated with me because I think a lot of us go through imposter syndrome. And I think that's exactly what imposter syndrome is. Like, who am I to do this that you're, like, whatever you're telling me to do, God? For those of you who don't call that energy God, that inner voice within you, the universe, the creative force that pushes you every single day. You sometimes doubt yourself and you're like, who am I to do this? Let me just go the safe route and do, what is safe, because I don't feel like I deserve this. And that's why I really am starting to treasure my Bible reading moments nowadays. For those of you who are, not new to my podcast series, know this, that I approach reading the Bible from a really philosophical standpoint. And that verse alone, Exodus chapter 3, verse 11 to 12, really, really just speaks that in volumes, addressing that imposter syndrome that so many of us face in so many areas of our lives. I'm not sure how it is, in other industries, because I'm a creative, I'm an artist as well. Even when I did radio, I used to feel like I didn't deserve it, like, who am I to be here? And it takes a lot of healing and a lot of positive self-talk, to get through that. Now, it's so funny how this whole story started, about, going back to the story of Exodus and everything. So first and foremost, I was really led to watch the Prince of Egypt, to rewatch it. The Prince of Egypt, the animation by Disney. And, it was so funny because how I was led to that was, I'm giving you now another backstory so you can understand. When I was in primary school, there was this line, from a musical that we did about Moses, that, my inner child was really trying to bring up. And it went like, I think it was like, "Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go." So I was like, whoa, okay. I feel like there is something, happening here that I need to communicate. And, it's so funny because as I receive these messages, from the Most High to, because to share and to help, make you guys understand as well that this is all relatable, that we are all connected. Just going back to the imposter syndrome, I also felt like, who am I to tell the masses about, God? Who am I to speak on this, But if it is God who sends you, if it is God who gives you messages, and that's not to say that I'm special out of everybody else who's listening. You know what I mean? We are all special in equal capacities. God calls us in different capacities, and it's just up to us to heed the call. You may feel like you're not qualified, but God qualifies you. Yeah? So I really, truly enjoy my daily discoveries of seeing how much of the self that I seek to be is more or less always reflected by my inner child. And this is so relevant because the previous podcast I did was about healing the inner child. So it's such a beautiful thing to see. Excuse me if I just, stop in awe and just smile and laugh and enjoy, because it's such a beautiful feeling. And I really, truly hope that each and every one of you who is on their own individual journeys, experiences these moments, as you continue to grow into the person and into the divinity that you are, So the reason why I'm saying that the person, I'm discovering that much of the self I seek to be is more or less like how I was when I was a child. When I was a kid, I started working really early. I used to host a TV show called Club Kiboko. And I loved it. It was amazing. When I was a kid, I loved doing music. I was an artist. I did ballet. I did everything. As a kid, no one could tell me anything. I was always ready to conquer anything, from imaginary ogres in the garden to climbing the tallest trees. I still climb trees. But, to working even before I even needed, as I mentioned before, because I loved what I was doing. And at that point, to be honest, I don't think I knew what fear was. I would say, I'm scared of things if you were told there's a monster under your bed, that type of stuff, I'd be scared of. But in terms of putting myself out into the world and being who I was, I knew not the concept of fear. I feel that it's along the way that I was introduced to fear, as many of us were. And I can't exactly point out where in my life it gripped me the most. However, work is always flowing through that, in that area for me. So having been going through the motions of, these vibration oceans, I was kind of led to, just thinking about what I had learned about the story of Moses again. I was led to reread it. So as always, I obeyed my intuition and I read it. Please note, for those of you who are new to listening to your intuition, most of the time it sounds crazy. You don't even know why you're being told to do what you're being told to do, but there's just this quiet voice of peace, of unconditional love, that it's very hard to explain, but when you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I digress. This is a verse, by the way, that I had read so many times before from Sunday school. I mean, it's even one of the most well-known verses in the Bible, universally. And it's come across me in many times of my life, and it's so beautiful because reading it at this time, something just clicked for me, and as I said earlier, I've adopted a practice where I read the Bible from a philosophical perspective, literally looking at the Bible as a book of text messages from God telling me things that I need to know. So even as I share this message with you, God has answered a question that I put out to him to answer for me. So yeah, I like to look at it like that. And, this sort of practice is what has really led me to take in the magnificence of not only the timing of my understanding of the true essence of the message of the holy text, being the Bible in its entirety, but just awed about the timelessness of it. it's really beautiful to swim in, you know. Now, I want to focus on the chapters that I mentioned earlier. We're going to start with, so since this is like a breakdown of like in 4 parts, so I'm going to start with chapter 7 chapter 7 verse 1 to 7, and then we'll go deeper in the other parts, so that, you know, this isn't too lengthy, and so that, you know, you get the gist of what I'm trying to talk about. Also, shout out to Kanye West, because like Father Stretch My Hand, and then like the title of chapter 7 of Exodus is I Will Stretch Out My Hand. I mean anyway, that's only for people who know Kanye West and hip hop heads and who get the reference. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, let it slide. Okay, so chapter 7 verse 1 to 7, Exodus. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now hear this. I make you as God to Pharaoh, to declare my will and purpose to him. And your brother Aaron shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall tell Pharaoh to let the children of Israel go out of his land. And I will make Pharaoh's heart hard, and multiply my signs and my wonders, my miracles in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh will not listen to you. And I shall lay my hand on Egypt, and bring out my hosts, like a defensive army, tribe by tribe, my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt, by great acts of judgment, which is the plagues. The Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch out my hand on Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them." And Moses and Aaron did so, just as the Lord commanded them, so they did. Now Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. Yeah, so let's just let that sink in. Now, from the first verse, where God says, "Now hear this, I make you as God to Pharaoh, to declare my will and purpose to him, and your brother Aaron shall be your prophet." So just in that verse, Moses here, remember we're literally dissecting this, you know, to see what it means philosophically. So here I feel like Moses symbolizes our higher self, because if God said he's going to make him as a god, and for those of you who are not new to my channel, you know my beliefs specifically with regards to who we are. I feel that we are all gods, you know, small g's, please note that, small g's, because you know, stemming from the story of creation, if God made us in the image of who he is, and breathed his life into us, then I feel that, you know, just as so many areas in the Bible, which, you know, in other podcasts I'll bring up, where even in the New Testament, I'm not sure what verse it is exactly, but it says that, you know, we are all part of, I think it's in Peter, but I'll confirm, you know, where it is said that as a church we are like body parts, you know, the finger cannot function without the hand and all that stuff. So I feel like as God has given us part of him, then we are manifestations of him here on earth. It does not mean that we are more powerful or as powerful as he is, you get what I mean, but we do have the power to co-create here with him. So God has confirmed that in his holy text by claiming Moses is a symbolism of our highest self, you know, and our highest self is what? That image of God. And Aaron refers to our intuition, right? Because that is your prophet. That is what tells you what is going to happen. Your intuition is your prophet in the sense that it foresees things before it even happens. You know, it may not make sense to your logical mind, but that's because your intuition is literally your prophet. And false prophets are, for example, the media, all the other outlets outside of yourself, that try to tell you that they have the information that you seek. But really and truly, everything that you need to know is within you. The only other person you should go to for proper advice about your own life is God himself. And, quick spin-off, before I go further into this is actually why that's why I stopped reading tarot for people. Tarot is not a bad thing, but how it is used in this day and age is really negative, because it is used to make people slaves to other people, because someone is dependent on, I need to know all the answers and I have to go to this person to get the answers, but tarot is supposed to be a tool for each and every one of us to learn how to use our intuition. So if you come to me for a tarot reading, I would do it in a way that you empower yourself, because at the end of the day, you are divine, you are sovereign in your own right. So nobody should have power over you in any way, shape or form. If anybody tries to manipulate you and make you feel that they should have power over you in any way, that is a false prophet. Okay? Now, moving on to the rest of the symbolism. So there's Pharaoh, who represents ego, fear and oppression. So anything that holds you back from being your highest self, anything that makes you believe that you're not worthy, anything that makes you believe that you're not qualified enough, anything that makes you believe that you are not in a position to achieve a certain goal that you have in your mind. And this is so funny, because when I was reading the verse, I had to say this. So guys, if you don't know by now, if you don't know, now you know, I am in love with hip-hop. I am a hip-hop artist myself. So most of the music that comes out when I get my spiritual music, thank you, when I get my spiritual messages, is that I mostly get hip-hop music, as messages. So it's so funny, because I was just talking about Kanye, and then when I read the first line of chapter 7 in Exodus, that says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, now hear this, I make you as a god to Pharaoh." Yeah, the chorus that started like playing in my mind was from No Church in the Wild. I think that was on Watch the Throne by Jay-Z and Kanye. Human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? Will he make it out alive? Alright. No church in the wild. Dude, I'm going to go and listen to that song like immediately after this recording is over. It's just so amazing, I feel. The many ways in which the universe, God, source, spirit, whatever you refer to our amazing creator as, communicates with us, and just shows us in so many ways how he is truly omnipresent, omniscient, omni-everything, So the point I'm trying to drive, through all of this is that, God, source, universe wants you to have a good life. But the only way that can be achieved is if you face your fears. I'll repeat that again. God wants you to have a good life, but it can only be achieved if you face your fears. Yeah? Because as we read here in the verse, there is nobody special. Moses is just I'm not saying that Moses is not someone special. He is someone special. Do not take my words out of context, please. The message here from this podcast, what I'm trying to communicate to you all, is that the Most High Himself has ordained you and made you a God, capital G. Okay? A God over what? Over your own life. You are a co-creator over your own life. And in order for you to remember this, He had to show you through a person as an example. And He's been doing this throughout the centuries, you know. He sent Jesus, He sent Moses, He sent Buddha, He sent Krishna. He sent so many people all over the world to cater to everybody as messengers, to show everybody that you can be Christ conscious, you know. You can be Krishna conscious. You can be Buddha conscious. You can be like them, you know. Everybody is a son and a daughter of God. Everybody is a small G God, you know. But then the thing that happened is because we have been so properly brainwashed and so properly tied down as slaves, you know, and we feel like we can never get over the feeling that, you know, we are not qualified, so we cannot be that, you know. So because of that thinking, we then started worshipping them, you know. And the thing was that we were not meant to worship them. All glory and honor and praise goes to the Most High God, the Creator, you know. But those people were brought to show us the potential that we each have. Like, everybody is equal. Everybody has the potential to create miracles in their lives and in the lives of others, you know. So instead of focusing on worshiping people that you think that you can never be like, instead of learning that you too yourself are divine, you know, and because you are divine, your natural state is to be a creator. You're meant to be a conscious creator of your life and the vibration of the planet that, you know, we live on. And so, like, very few people throughout the millennia have managed to reach this realization. But the message that I got from rewatching the film, Prince of Egypt, and reading Exodus chapter 7, specifically verse 1 to 4, is that God says now is the time for us all to realize our power. That's what He means by saying, go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Pharaoh represents fear. Pharaoh represents oppression. Pharaoh represents the ego, you know. So place whatever message I am saying within, start from yourself. So God is saying within our own selves, we need to overcome fear and adopt love. From outside ourselves, God is saying that oppression needs to end. We need to liberate ourselves, but the only way to liberate ourselves is to literally liberate ourselves. You know, charity begins at home. The time is now for us all to realize our power. The time is now for us to create the world that we want to live in by believing it exists without outward evidence. Now that is faith. If you are able to create the world that you want without outward evidence, I mean, let's go back to the story of creation. There was nothing, and then God created something out of nothing. Now, we are meant to not read the Bible literally and be like, wow, that happened, okay. But the Bible is here for us as a tool to show us. I feel like it's literally a book of cheat codes of how you're meant to live life, how God intended us to live life. But we'll go deeper into all those at another time because we can talk for hours about that. But that's exactly what I mean about being a co-creator. Because you have to believe that something exists before it even exists, you know, your imagination, something, and note that if you are open-eyed enough, if you're perspective enough, you notice that things like imagination, that's why people like artists or anyone in any field that needs to be imaginative, even down to scientists, they need to have imagination at some point, right? Why is imagination so important? Because if you look at all of the people that you look up to in the world, like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, all these people, even down to the person who created the first cell phone, let's go that basic. They had to have imagination. They had to believe it didn't exist before. So how did they create it then? They created it because they believed it existed without outward evidence. They had faith. So everything that false prophets are telling you that is faith is not faith. That's not faith. And you will know what is faith and what is not faith, and you will know the truth from the lies when you go deep within, because deep within you have your own answers. Now I'm just going to read the meaning of slavery, right, from the dictionary. So there are two meanings here. It says a condition of having to work very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation. And the second one is excessive dependence on or devotion to something. I'll repeat. So slavery is a condition of having to work very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation, or excessive dependence on or devotion to something. Now, that's why I mentioned, me stopping to do tarot readings in the beginning, because this excessive dependence on something, I found that not only I was starting to have an excessive dependence on getting answers from the tarot cards, but then other people were starting to have excessive dependence to the point where they were not going within, and all the answers that you have are within. And it was so funny because even the way I read tarot is from my intuition. The pictures just help me explain it to people who can't see what my intuition sees, So think about it. What has you excessively dependent? What are you excessively dependent on, or what are you excessively devoted to? Because that is not healthy. That is slavery. For real. It really is slavery. Now, the opposite of slavery is freedom. The great Maya Angelou once said, freedom is no fear. I believe freedom is unconditional love. I believe that freedom is your birthright. It's all our birthrights, So from this message that I've been called to share with you today, God is literally telling us to let our fears go. He's telling us whatever it is we think is holding us back needs to be released. It's time. It's time for it to be released. Like, that's just it. And I feel like it's so timely, this message, because we're in the year 2021. I study numerology because I believe that numerology is a really big part of the universe. And it's a proven fact in science. I mean, we can do a whole episode about numerology for those of you who'd be interested. Excuse me. But 2021 adds up to the number 5. If you do 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, that's 5. In numerology, the number 5 represents change. Change. Why are we afraid of change? We're afraid of things that we don't know of. And yet, the creation process requires you to be in a state of just being, because if you want things to remain as they are, you are a divine being, and that is why you have been given free will. You have the free will, for example, to listen to this message and take offense. You have the free will to listen to this message and go and shape your own perspectives. You have free will in so many, dimensions, right? But the essence of this message is telling us to release, all we have to do is have the intention to reprogram our minds. As I said in the beginning, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because none but ourselves can free our minds. More power to you, Bob Marley. We need to break that slave mentality. And please remember, when I say slave, we go back to the definition that I said: excessive dependence on or devotion to something. A condition of working very hard without proper appreciation or remuneration. So we need to break that slave mentality. We need to break the people-pleasing mentality, the I have to be like so-and-so mentality, the fitting in mentality, or even the mentality of wanting people to be like you because it makes you comfortable, We just need to learn acceptance. I think this is the year of acceptance, the year of release, and the year of emancipation. Now, when you listen to your intuition, things like people pleasing wouldn't really come up in your psyche, because you wouldn't care, because you will realize that, all appearances are just as the name suggests, appearances, and that's part of, that's been my journey as well, just learning how social media affects not only me, but the people around us, because it is so funny how this slave system has been created so intricately, to the point where we are willing slaves, But we'll go deeper into this, because now social media is a whole other topic on its own. I'd be going way off of, this topic that we're talking about for today, which is the Exodus, our Exodus as people. So I hope from all this, I'm going to wrap up, but I hope from all this that it can now be seen that fear is the only means of holding the masses in shackles, in bonds. It's the only way to keep somebody a slave. Fear is the only means of holding the masses in bonds. So, as I close this podcast, food for thought is, if you journal or whatever, if you just want to think about it, what are some of the quote unquote pharaohs you feel that need to let go of you, that you need to release yourself from, what are some of the pharaohs that you feel like God would like you to break from? That's your food for thought for, this weekend. And I think it's very relevant, especially because, part of my full moon ritual is, writing down the things that I need to let go of and, burning them and watching them disappear, letting them go and letting God, releasing my burdens to God and just focusing on things that I love, that love me, everything that describes who God is and what God is in my life. So with that, divine beauties, that was part 1 of the Exodus series. We'll be back sooner rather than later. I don't want to give you a date yet, because I go by divine suggestion. When the Most High says go, I go. He's the CEO, So yes, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for just existing as well. You are all a part of something greater, whether you are aware of it or not aware of it. Wherever you are at this particular moment in time, I send you love, I send you light, and I intend that, everything that is yours by divine right reaches you now and in all ways, always. Namaste.